observable fact that whenever you give Democrats time and space to come up with helpful ideas, it always ends in plans which are heavy with totalitarian overtones. They can't help themselves. Lock far-left Democrats in a brainstorming session, and what comes out of the process is guaranteed to involve some massive act of government overreach, which necessitates the destruction of our constitutional rights on a national scale. As Democrats and even Biden himself have intoned, no right is absolute, meaning they get to pick which rights you can enjoy and under what conditions you may enjoy them, which is to say they don't believe in rights at all. This is the guiding philosophy that has informed history's worst tyrants and served as the motivation behind the bloodiest events in the 20th century and consequently all of history. They can't help themselves. Let's look at some examples of the left following their instincts, only to reveal their true jackbooted ideology. Take cancel culture, for example. In its essence, cancel culture is a form of coercion through public humiliation. They force society to disown someone by slandering them for being unacceptable to their norms. They don't allege any real crime, mind you, but they do inflict real punishment. Innocent and very good and brave people have had their lives ruined by this. Many times the offense in question is not even real or factual, but merely based on vague impressions. Public humiliation was used by the Nazis to smear Jewish citizens and incite hatred against them. It was also a key tactic of Mao's Cultural Revolution in the form of struggle sessions. In struggle sessions, people were singled out and forced to wear signs around their necks indicating their crimes. Crimes such as owning property or being an educated doctor. These people were paraded out into the streets and subjected to the derision of citizens, as well as physical and verbal abuse for hours or even days. Nowadays, the internet has made the process of subjecting people to this kind of treatment much more efficient and hygienic for the armies of Biden's youth armchair warriors. Witness the unrelenting campaign of public humiliation being conducted by the group of FBI volunteers known as the Sedition Hunters. This group of faux anons are dedicated to outing January 6thers by broadcasting their names along with deliberately humiliating hashtag nicknames for each of their targets. With every successful FBI raid of a conservative's attic, they openly celebrate the capture of innocent protesters. Their hashtags, along with their carefully chosen name, are calculated to slander every single target as a, quote, seditionist, despite the fact that not a single person has even been charged with sedition. Facts be damned, let's hang this mark of shame around their necks and watch with glee as their lives and the lives of their families get chewed up by a wild-eyed justice system. See, it's like a bad habit they can't shake. Unfortunately for Democrats, the relationship between their ideology and political persecution is not so much casual, but causal. See, it's not actually the case that Democrats become Hitler or become Mao. It's that Hitler and Mao based their ideologies and tactics of manipulation and coercion on the ideology of American Democrats. Scratch a liberal, find a tyrant, as the saying goes. Or, as Denish D'Souza, you may have heard of him, said in his 2018 book Death of a Nation, quote, "The senior Nazis who made the Nuremberg laws, while they were making those laws, they had in the hand the democratic laws of the Jim Crow South. They crossed out the word black, wrote in the word Jew, and they were off to the races. So it's time to stop acting surprised that the party that created the Klan, promotes eugenics, and pushes communism, is always on the vanguard in any movement that destroys our liberties. They're Democrats. It's hard-coded into their ideological DNA. That's why they want to subject their most feared political adversary, Donald Trump, to another round of completely delusional criminal proceedings. They want to publicly humiliate him with handcuffs and a perp walk. Then they want to subject him to another kangaroo court before a jury not of his peers, but of theirs. A group of irrational wannabe tyrants. There's no doubt that the charges being contemplated in Manhattan are bogus. Nationally recognized legal scholar Jonathan Turley called this, quote, a patently political prosecution, and compares DA Alvin Bragg's case to a Frankenstein monster. It's half dead given that the statute of limitations already ran out, and the previous attempts by the feds to prosecute it had to be dropped. But it's also cobbled together from a flimsy interpretation of state and federal codes. According to Turley, quote, he is reportedly going to convert a misdemeanor for falsifying financial records into a prosecution of a federal crime. What's more is that similar attempts at political retribution against Democrat politician John Edwards have previously failed. One need only to come up with a non-campaign related reason behind the use of funds for them to be declared personal and not political. If a lifelong politician and public servant like Edwards could beat these charges, the case of a private billionaire using his own money for his own private purposes is even less scandalous. A successful prosecution would actually spell doom for business, as usual in the swamp, as it would require all politicians to track every dollar spent, regardless if it was campaign-related or not. On the other side of the equation, you have Joe Biden, who every day sinks further and further into the mire of his actual crimes. Since GOP investigators have come up with bank statements showing that not just Joe Biden, but the entire Biden family have been the direct beneficiaries of the Chinese Communist Party to the tune of millions of dollars, the administration has been doing backflips trying to explain that it's not real, or it doesn't count, or it's not illegal, or nobody knew what was going on. But the fact is, they did know what was going on. Joe Biden knew what was going on. Emails obtained by America First Legal shows not only that then Vice President Joe Biden knew, but he was the force behind the scenes trying to deflect the damage by crafting Hunter's PR and directing journalists to none other than the State Department. So Joe Biden not only uses his position in government to sell us out, he tasks the government itself as his own public relations lackeys when he needs to cover. Meanwhile, China has forged a close alliance with Russia, the very same country that Joe wants to start a nuclear war with. I tell you, it's mystifying how every single person with a unique opinion on Ukraine is slandered as a Putin puppet, while our own commander-in-chief is being directly paid by the only other superpower willing to provide financial and military support to Russia. But in case you haven't noticed, tyrants aren't exactly known for their intellectual integrity or moral consistency. They also aren't known for their brains. By their very sociopathic nature, tyrants lack the capacity to truly understand how people think and feel, which is why this blatantly political prosecution shtick keeps backfiring on them. Since news broke about Trump's impending arrest by the Manhattan DA, his poll numbers actually improved, as they did after the Mar-a-Lago raid. They were hoping to scare we the people into submission. Some mass raids, some kangaroo court trials, where the government breaks more laws than the defendants, and a good dose of public humiliation, and voila, a frightened and easily manipulated citizenry. That doesn't work on us. Ours is a nation of heroes known for standing up to history's worst monsters. Because we are Americans, and we don't tolerate tyranny. You could say it's an acquired taste. After all, we got our start by shirking off the yoke of British tyranny.